So we'll start part 2 of our work here, and this is actually writing equations of lines with some of those facts and details in mind, those facts being parallel and perpendicular. So first thing it's important to note is that decide if it's parallel or if it's perpendicular. I'll highlight that in the third one too right away. Alrighty. So now if my line goes through this point, 4, 2, that means that these two numbers, x and y, have to work in the equation or make the equation true. So, to start my line writing, I know that if these lines are parallel, the slopes are the same. So the first part of this equation I have simply by copying what's there. Now don't copy the -5. I don't know what value that's going to be. If I use the -5, I will just have exactly the same line, and it will be overlapping itself. It won't be parallel at all. Part of solving this guy now and figuring out what the b number is taking the x and y values they gave you, and again those are in alphabetical order, the x's first, and plugging them in for the given x and y letters. So when I carry this out, I'm going to have, I'll bring it over here, 2 equals -3/4 times, let me write this x now as 4/1, plus b. And again, I'm keeping this as a letter till I figure it out. I'll jump down below here and write as we continue above and below. 2 equals, let's see, -3 times 4 is 12, and 12 divided by 4 is -3. And then finishing up the solution by adding 3 to both sides, I end up with 5 equals b. Now I've got the number I need to be able to write the entire equation. So I can go back to my original up here, and I'm going to try to erase the b that I had there, and I'm going to fill in my brand new number 5. So this actually is the answer that we were looking for. The entire full equation is found by using the proper slope, and I highlighted in yellow what that'll be. And then we simply plug in the values for x and y to help us calculate the value for the y-intercept, which is b. You can pause this here if you want to look at this for a bit longer. I'm going to erase and continue on to number 26. Well, let's continue on anyway. For 26, I'll cross these guys out, try to work around them. Notice my slope now is perpendicular. That means I'm not going to use -5. I will start the same way though. The opposite of -5 is +5, and the reciprocal, of course, is 1/5. So my new slope is 1/5. And then I proceed much like I did before, where I'm going to insert my x value here, and I'm going to insert my y value over here, keeping my -1/5 and my plus b intact. And as I continue, again I'll come down here into problem 27. 4 equals 1/5 times -5 is -1 plus b. Add 1 to both sides to continue to solve for b. I get b equals 5. That means I can come up top here and I can write my 5 answer in the space in my equation. So I'll have the entire equation as my answer. Y equals 1/5 x plus 5. Question 27 is similar. If it's going to be a perpendicular bisector, I know that I'm going to use a perpendicular slope, but what slope, you say, might I use? Well, if I think about the situation, if I have a perpendicular bisector, I'll mark it perpendicular, I also know that these lengths are equal. So this point where these two lines intersect is important. So there's a couple of things I need to do. I will first label the ends with the points I know. And then this center point is becoming more and more important. That's actually the midpoint of the segment. So before I can do anything, I have to find the coordinates of this midpoint. And again, that's where you average the x's and average the y's. It looks like that'll be 0, 6. I also need to find the slope of my blue line. I don't know what it is, but I am able to figure out the slope of the original segment by, again, using that subtraction fraction. And that would be 8 minus 4, again I do the y's first, over negative 2 minus 2. It looks like I end up with 4 over negative 4, or negative 1. So that's the slope of the black line. I want the slope of the blue line, and the opposite reciprocal of negative 1 is 1. So my slope is 1. So now I can write a partial equation. Y equals 1x plus b, and like before, I need to plug in the values from my midpoint, and once I plug those in, I will actually have my equation. Y, oops, we don't want that to be there. Get rid of that. Go to a regular pen, not a highlighter. Y equals, if I plug in a 0 for x and a 6 for the y, the x part will be basically wiped out, and I'm going to end up getting y equals 6. Or rather, 6 equals b. So my equation will be y equals x plus 6. And that's my final equation. There you go.